So what happened in the month of October in Edmonton's real estate market? Stay tuned, we're going to talk about that right now. Hi, this is Melody Wilson, realtor with The Real Broker, and I'm here to talk to you about what has been going on in the Edmonton real estate market for the month of October. So in October, we saw a decrease in both the new listings on the market from month to month and year over year. We also saw a decrease in the sales in terms of last month and the year before. October typically does tend to start to slow down, and we start to see that moving into November, December, and January months. Now, in February, March is usually when we start to see the market pick up. Does that mean as a seller you shouldn't be selling right now? Absolutely not. It depends on your situation. And it also depends on the neighborhood that you're in. These are general market stats for the Edmonton area as a whole, including all single family type products, which includes duplexes, single family homes that are detached garages, attached garages, and even the high-end properties. So you want to make sure you check out the exact statistics for your specific property. So the average days on market in October was 42, which is still lower than it was last year at this time. However, it is a little higher than it was in September. This number will also start to increase. We'll start to see the average days on market tend to grow over the winter months, just like the sales are dropping. So that does push this market into more of a balanced and a buyer's market. Now, that being said, as a buyer, you may not have as many choices as you normally do when it's a spring market. So you gotta keep in mind that there may be a deal to be had, however, there's not as much property to see. The interest rates are starting to increase, and we don't know when they're gonna stop or how much they're gonna increase, but I know that will affect the market as well. Prices and interest rates, when you look at those increasing, it's the interest rates that you should be most concerned about. Prices increasing with those super low interest rate is still very much affordable, more so than lower prices at a higher interest rate. So again, the bulk of the properties sold so far this year in Edmonton sit in the $300,000 to $500,000 price range, making well over 50% of the Edmonton market sales. However, interestingly enough, $500,000 to $599,000, you're still sitting at 15% of the actual sales for the entire year. That's still a big portion. So you're seeing people purchase these homes, maybe they've moved up from that 300 to 500 range up into the 5 to 600. However, you're also seeing people sell the 5 to 600 to move into the over $1 million properties. So in Edmonton this year, we've actually seen just over 200 properties sell for over $1 million. That's a very strong market when people are willing to invest that kind of money into the city of Edmonton. So if you're ever curious to see how much and what you get for your house for over $1 million in Edmonton, we have a new YouTube channel called Edmonton Luxury Home Collective that you should check out and see all the inside of $1 million plus $2 million properties in Edmonton. So in October, the absorption rate was 24.65%. So it is moving towards that buyer's market at the beginning stages of the buyer's market. So likely we're probably going to see this, like I mentioned earlier, continue to become more of a buyer's market over the next few months, and then it will push into the seller's market usually in the springtime. And I suspect we've had previous years of pent-up demand because of the first 2 years ago we had pent-up demand because the world stopped. Then we had pent-up demand because people were waiting to see what was going to happen. And now this year, I think what's going to happen is people are going to be even more comfortable to be making those moves again and making those adjustments. However, you will see an influx in purchases happening because of the interest rates. If you have an interest rate hold right now, you want to use that up before that 120 days is up, because otherwise you have the higher interest rates. So the average price is actually down from last month, but it's still higher than it was last year. It's sitting pretty strong at just over $464,000 for a single family home in Edmonton. And if you look at the overall average price trend, we actually have seen its very strong growth this year. So far, we've seen a 7% increase from last year. That's the biggest increase we've seen in the average price for a very long time. In the last 10 years, this last year in 2021 was the strongest increase we've seen in 10 years. The closest to it was in 2017, but it's still quite a bit off. So you can see that the market in 2021 did very well for Edmonton, like it did all across Canada and the globe, to be honest. Like the Edmonton real estate market is just following that trend. Now, what's going to happen for the next year? Is 2022 going to stay just as strong? I don't know. I'm not a crystal ball reader, but I do know this. We'll continue to give you information on what's happening in Edmonton's real estate market for November, December, And at the end of December, early January, I'll be able to talk to you about what has happened as a whole, what we've seen as a trend in 2021 and 2020, and then we'll talk about 2022, the potential influencers, what's going to happen in terms of is single-family home market going to be stronger for buyers to buy or sellers to buy. So spoiler alert, I do think the market will continue to be strong in 2022 for the sellers, and for buyers, there's still going to be a great opportunity to own your property, especially for those people looking to move up in the market. It's becoming a better move up market because you'll be able to sell your house for a good solid amount of money to move up to that next property. And that next property is falling in an area where there's not as many buyers, which means you're gonna have less competition, which means that prices will be less competitive versus in that first-time home buyer market. And if you're a first-time home buyer and you're watching this, you may want to enter the market sooner than later. It all depends on your situation. If you can do it, absolutely do it when the interest rates are low like they are right now. If you have any other questions, you know how to get a hold of me, and we'll talk to you next time.